Imagine being only 14 years, accused of a terrible crime, rushed through a trial that lasted just a few hours and sentenced to death. This is the story of George Stinney Jr., who was born in the year 1929 and lives with his family in a small town of Aulu, South Carolina. I don't know if I got the name right, but that's the name on top of the screen. He was an ordinary teenager who attended school, helped his family, and spent his days like many other boys in his age. But in March 1944, the peaceful town was once shaken by a horrifying crime. Two girls, 11-year-old Betty John Baker, I don't know if the name is correct, that's the name on top of the screen, and 7-year-old Mary Emma went missing while riding their bicycle. The next day, their bodies were discovered in a ditch. The community was shocked and frightened, and everyone was desperate for answers. The investigators focused their attention on George Stinney. Witnesses reported that George had spoken with the girl shortly before their disappearance. Police arrested the 14-year-old boy without his parents knowing. Authorities claim that George confessed to the murder. However, no written confession was ever produced, nor the recording of the confession existed. As they feared, the anger spread throughout the town. George's family received threats and was forced to flee for their safety. George was left alone for the charges. Just 1 month after his arrest, George was put on trial for the murder. The trial moved incredibly fast. His court-appointed lawyer called no witnesses in George's defense and presented very little evidence on his behalf. The jury was made up entirely of white men. After hearing the case, the jury deliberated for a few seconds before returning to verdict. George Stinney was sentenced to death. He was only 14 years. On June 16, 1944, just 83 days after his arrest, George was taken to the execution chamber. Because of his small size, some reports say adjustments had to be made so that he could properly fit the electric chair. At the age of 14, George Stinney was executed by electrocution. His life ended before he had the chance to become an adult. For decades, many people questioned whether George had received a fair trial. Historians, lawyers, and civil rights advocates examined the case and found numerous concerns. Years later, George's family began a legal effort to clear his name. But all that was going on after the boy was dead, which was very sad. In 2014, 70 years after George's execution, a South Carolina judge reviewed the case. The judge concluded that George had not been given a fair trial. I don't really know what you guys want to do with this story, but I just decided to give you guys the update on what really happened to George Stinney, Abby Tiny, whatever. So, peace out.